Okay, I guess it's the time for us to start, guys. Lakeisha?
Hi guys, my name is Lakeisha Brown and I'm co-hosting with Kate. And today our special guest is Talia and she represents MMG Management. And today, guys, she's going to answer tons of questions that you need to know about the modeling world and what you guys need. So, just to brag on Talia just a little bit, she's been working, with MMG for over a decade, and her experiences with the agency is countless. Talia has helped models land jobs with print campaigns and commercials, Nike, Louis Vuitton, the list goes on to these high class, high upper brand names. So Talia, also, could you also let us know a little bit more about yourself as well?
Of course. So, hi, my name is Talia. I am the director of MMG in New York City. We are headquartered out of New York City, but we also have satellite offices across the country in LA, Texas, Atlanta. So you name it, I've booked it. Miami Swim Week, LA Swim Week, campaigns out of Dallas. But New York is our headquarters, and that's where the bread and butter is done. We are famous for commercial and print work as opposed to high fashion. But I've also booked tons of television shows, movies. I've booked celebrity appearances. I've booked tons of runway. There's basically not an area of the industry that I haven't, worked on at this point. But I'm most known for being, heavily involved as one of the top agents for modeling work in New York.
So today we're going to get into a little bit on the other end, like my end, the models and the actors and actress, of what you would particularly look for as your agency will look for as a model or an actress or an actor. And definitely, what do you look for when you look at our comp cards, our digital cards? And, we would love to know that exactly as a brand label company, exactly, and how to critique and, fine detail those accolades that we as models put on our card. And, how does that go?
Absolutely. So, first and foremost, there is so many different types of modeling. So I think it's important to kind of distinguish those couple of areas just maybe before diving into what what your comp card should look like, because it's going to be different depending on what type of model you are, right? So the basics is take off all the makeup. Girls, go to the sink and wash it all off. We need to see what you look like. We don't want to see, tons of glam and contour and false lashes. When they say like, I woke up like this, that's what agents want to see, right? They want to see how you woke up, maybe after a cup of coffee, but we are looking to see your authentic appearance. And that is so important. So, if you want to put on a little mascara, a little lip gloss, men, if you want to do a little moisturizer, make sure we don't have any dry skin, that's all good and great. And, that's not going to affect anything. But ultimately, if I get a comp card and we've got fake lashes, contour, lipstick, that is immediately going in my no pile, because I honestly have no idea what that, model authentically looks like. So, we always joke, ladies, don't let the men know we can shapeshift. Well, let's be real. The agents, need to see you at your most natural state as well. So that's one of the biggest things, no matter what market you're going for, high fashion, commercial, parts, petite, authentic and natural appearance is so important. And with that, showing that appearance to the best of your ability. So that comes, next thing is going to be clothing. So for both men and women, we want to go with something that's fitted. I'm not saying it has to be skin tight. It certainly doesn't even have to be a swimsuit or shirtless or anything in that area, but it is going to need to be something that is form fitting, that shows us your figure. If you're a curvy lady, we want to see those curves. If you're a guy who's got some big, oh, I'm so sorry. I have a puppy at home and he just wanted to make a surprise appearance. If you're a man and you've got some toned arms, we want to see those arms. So you have to show us every bit of you. If you've got tattoos, a sleeve or whatever, that's something that we need to see. So clothing, face. Number 3, hair. So a lot of times they say to do digitals with your hair up. And yes, it is great to have a couple, with your hair pulled back so that you're really just getting the face, seeing the cheekbones, seeing the attributes, all that. But then I also want to know what your hair looks like, right? So it's important that you have both as a woman, that you've got photos with your hair up, show the goods, but then also show us what you're working with as well, hair wise. So hair down, or, at least to an extent where we can see the curl texture or the patterns there. So we want to avoid any types of, extensions, wigs, braids. Show us what you're naturally working with. And if we ultimately want to come up with a different style for your marketing look that includes an extension, a braid, dyeing your hair, whatever that might look like, that's something that you're going to work with your agent in development. But show them authentically what you're working with right now and in that moment. And then that all can come in at a later date. So like I said initially, there are different areas to modeling, but for all of those areas, face, wardrobe, and hair, those are your big 3 attributes that you need to be very clearly showing to the casting director. And so with that, lighting, we need really, really good lighting. You guys can see me real well right now. I've got that ring light going on. You can see everything that's happening. Okay. So I either advise investing in a ring light, or the sun is the best type of light that you're going to have. So natural light can also be your best friend. So if you've got a dark apartment, or, you just don't get great windows, the ring light's kind of just, overpowering you, go outside, use the wall against your house. So lighting is going to be your best friend in conveying those 3 key items to the casting director when you're capturing your photos.
Awesome. That's really great information. Even for myself as a model, I've been modeling for a couple of years, but that's like still keynote on the top of my head. So I have another question, and it's kind of like a basic question, but it's a good foundational question. How do one get into modeling with no experience?
Absolutely. So most, I work with kids as well as adults. So obviously I'm used to working with a lot of newcomers, because most children or teens, they obviously haven't started this before. But when you're going for adult modeling, you can't really start that until you're 16 to 18. So it's pretty normal to come in as a beginner, and not having experience is totally okay, especially in this day and age where clients are looking for the next best thing. And that's when you always hear that term, new face, fresh face, right? So they want something new. They want something exciting. So first off, own that you don't have any experience. Don't try to make it sound, I did, community theater in high school. I was in this magazine, that was the local newspaper. Be honest. I'm brand new to this. I'm hardworking. I want to get into it, and I'm willing to do what it takes. So we need to know authentically, what we're working with in terms of your experience. So don't try to fluff it up. We would rather work with somebody who is completely new and we can mold and expose properly than someone who's on a lot of low budget brands that could actually hurt their career. You know, if you're a brand new model and you're doing tons of non-paid stuff in these fake magazines or, you know, working with low budget photographers, you have that blasted all over your social media. That's going to seriously diminish your brand as a model. That's going to actually make an agent not want to work with you because they're going to be like, well, shoot, they've got all this exposure with all these kind of not such great companies, you know. Is Gap going to ever want to work with them? Probably not, because they've already kind of been put out there with these lower budget clients. So first and foremost, just be super honest about your experience. Don't try to overplay it. You know, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. My puppy, he really wants some attention right now. So that's first and foremost. Second kind of comes into what I was started to talk about is your Instagram and your social media. So that is going to be your biggest tool in, you know, marketing yourself to potential clients. That is just as important as your digitals. So a lot of times when you reach out to an agency, they are going to say, please send me your digitals and your Instagram link. And so your Instagram is just as important as your digitals. There's kind of like a saying nowadays, like your digitals have almost in a sense replaced, I'm sorry, your Instagram has in a sense replaced your digitals. So that is, there's no such thing as websites for models, right? So your Instagram kind of like is your website, is your pitching tool. And there's a saying in the industry, you're only as strong as your weakest photos. So before you even think about starting to submit to an agency, get your digitals right, and then go get your social media right. Make sure there's no profanity. There's nothing, you know, that could be perceived as, you know, negative or, you know, not family friendly. If you're going to be the face of Target or Old Navy, you have to be lovable by everyone, right? So you want to get your digitals right, get your social media right, make sure everything, you know, looks clean, simple, shows your appearance in a, you know, forgiving light. So once you've done those two things, there's kind of a few different routes that you can go with it. So using websites like allcasting is a terrific first step. And it's a great kind of resource that they've given to models here, because before allcasting, there's very few avenues that provided legitimate modeling jobs that weren't through agencies. So there are other websites that are more specific to just acting that are available out there. But starting on websites like allcasting is a really good way to gain experience with legitimate companies that won't damage your brand. So step one, get your digitals right. Step two, make sure your social media looks clean. Step three, get yourself registered on different casting websites. There's other ones besides allcasting that are great as well. To try to start submitting yourself to the low budget projects that agents won't work on. That way you can at least make a few connections, maybe get some photo shoots under your belt, you know, start building, you know, your repertoire. And from there, you're going to start submitting to the agencies directly through their websites. Another really good resource is to keep an eye out for open calls. My agency does open calls biannually during every fashion week, since everyone's always in town. And that's pretty common. A bunch of agencies do their open calls during fashion week since everyone's in town. So you can submit to the agencies via their website or by looking out for in-person open calls that go on.
Amazing, amazing. I was going to ask you another question on how to start your modeling career, but I know you've already covered a lot of the bulletin points in that, you know, of course, get your digitals, your comp card together. Is there anything within that question that you would add on to what you've already given to us?
Yes. So when I am talking about digitals, I am talking about kind of those bare basic snapshots, Polaroids is what they used to be called because they were taken on a Polaroid camera. Now they're usually taken on an iPhone. But so when I'm referring to digitals, that's what I'm referring to. After you get good digitals, the next step is to start engaging in test shoots. This is different from digitals. Test shoots are meant to show the agency or the client how you photograph on camera. Digitals are almost like mugshots, right? Because we're kind of just showing what we've got. We're like, this is me, this is my head, this is my face, this is my hair, this is my body. Great, that shows us what we're working with very clearly. Now, can you move? Are you photogenic? What can you bring to the table that another model can't? And a lot of that is going to come within your ability to photograph and move and pose. So once you've got your digitals all set, that's when we move on to test shoots. Now, here's where it can get a little tricky. Based on where you're located, you might not have access to fashion photographers. And this is sometimes where models struggle a little bit. New York City is known as the modeling capital of the US. There's 4 main capitals: New York, Milan, London, and Paris. And then there are mini markets throughout the US where you will find fashion photographers, maybe not exactly the same level or criteria as New York City, but enough. So that's going to be Dallas, Chicago, LA, Miami. Did I miss any? Oh, Los Angeles. But if you're in really small towns, kind of in the flyover states or in the in-between markets, you might have a little trouble finding authentic fashion photographers to do your test shoots with. So there might be some travel involved to get a proper test shoot done. And that's something you need to be ready for and commit to. Because no offense, but I don't want to see, who did your senior photos, from high school, in your small town in, Indiana or any of the states that don't have a fashion presence, because that is not going to help me see what your potential as a model could be. Portrait photography, boudoir, family portraits, that's done on a completely different type of camera, completely different lighting setup, completely different posing criteria. It would be like throwing a basketball player into a soccer game. They're both professional athletes, but they definitely can't play each other's sports, right? So a fashion photographer versus a hobbyist career photographer are going to produce 2 different types of material. And for modeling agencies, they need to see fashion test shoots. So keep in mind, if you're in an area that doesn't have any type of real modeling agencies or fashion industry, you're probably going to have to travel a little bit to access the proper types of materials to submit to agencies. Now, you don't have to do this. There are many agents who are going to be happy to review your digitals. This is kind of like something extra that you can do. A lot of agencies will be happy to work with digitals because you might go and do a bunch of test shoots and you might be focusing on fitness or beauty. And they might be like, oh no, we want to go like edgy and high end with you. We're not going to use any of those, but thanks for showing them to us. So the digitals and the comp card, that's your first step. And then kind of as a bonus round, the test shoots are important as well. I recommend doing the test shoots even if you're not planning on to submit them to the agency, just to familiarize yourself with what it's like to be on set, familiarize yourself with what it's like to pose, for a professional camera, what that experience is like. A lot of people think that you kind of like sit there and pose for a second and then pose. But no, it's constant movement and evolving and little adjustments and the photographer giving you notes. So, test shoots can also be a good way to, prepare yourself so that when you do sign with the agency and they do send you on a test shoot, you know what you're walking into.
Amazing. So you basically given the whole step. So guys, are you listening? She said comp card, digitals, comp card, and test shooting. And, definitely make sure that the photographer is a qualified photographer. And if not, you got to put in a little bit of work, a little bit of travel, and a little bit of, investigation to find that right photographer. Another one, you know, there's different types of models, and with your agency, could you also explain to them all the different types of modeling there is? Because some models thinks there's only one, like, oh, there's print, or oh, there's just runway, or could you elaborate a little bit more on that? Because there's different avenues and streams of income that comes in from all different types of modeling.
Absolutely. This is like one of the biggest fallacies that you hear in modeling is like, if you're not 5'9", you can't be a model. Or people think that runway is like the end all be all of modeling. First off, pro tip, runway pays the least out of any kind of modeling. So don't worry about runway, if you're not 5'9". So yes, there's plenty of different types of modeling. One second. Someone rang the doorbell. So there's plenty of different types of modeling. So I'm just going to kind of run through those different categories, just kind of step by step. So I'm going to go with the least attainable first, because this applies to the least amount of people. So let's get it over with. High fashion modeling. Okay. 95% of people who are going to become a model are not going to ever step a foot near high fashion modeling. That is what the top 1% does. Bella, Gigi, Kendall. Okay. That is what high fashion modeling is. Couture brands in Paris and Milan, Gucci and Fendi and Prada. This is not going to be realistically attainable for most of the people watching this. And that's okay, because there is so much more to modeling, and a lot of it has a lot more money in it too. So high fashion models have to be tall. And unfortunately, inclusivity has not gotten to where it should be. This fashion week, this past fashion season, the high fashion industry saw a backtrack to very thin models again. And so that's why I'm saying high fashion is just unattainable for most real women and men. So most high fashion agencies, and I'm saying most because there are some who are trying to pave the way to be more inclusive, but most for women are going to want to see 5'9", size 02, maybe a 4, maybe a 5'8" girl. And for age between 16 to 24, 25. For men, they're going to want to see 6 foot and over. And I know this about, you guys are about to look at me like I'm crazy, but for real high fashion couture, a 28-inch waist, and a 30 to 32-inch inseam. Like I'm telling you, unattainable for most men and women. But high fashion is what people think about when they think of modeling, because that is what the supermodels, the real supermodels, made modeling famous for. So Cindy Crawford, Tyra Banks, Naomi Campbell, all of those fabulous ladies. They brought, the runways to life, and that's where people learn about modeling. And then we had America's Next Top Model come in, and that shed a whole bunch more fake information about what modeling looks like. So high fashion is what you see in the movies. It's what you see the celebrities do on Instagram. And it is the most unattainable and smallest part of modeling at this point in the industry as well, which is really important to note. Most of the models getting those opportunities are what is called Nepo babies at this point, which are celebrity. Yep, you guys all know who I'm talking about. Hailey Bieber, we're looking at you. Nepo babies have taken over the high fashion industry. They are giving these opportunities to celebrity children, relatives, X, Y, and Z, who are in the social circles, have the Instagram followers and whatnot. So let's just put high fashion on a shelf for a moment here, okay? And let's talk about what's going to be realistic for most of the people who I'm talking to right now. Commercial print modeling. So for most commercial print clients, and that's what I do at MMG, I am a commercial print agent. For most commercial print clients, there are no height requirements, because let's think about this for a second. If you're doing a sunglass campaign, mascara, necklace, iPhone, watch, why would the client care how tall you are, right? The Pepsi commercials, anything that is product related, which, you know, we all shop on Amazon, there's a lot of products, they are not going to have height requirements for. My most commonly booked beauty model, so for jewelry, skincare, hair care, and makeup, is 5'3". And she's got a heck of a face, but she's teeny tiny. She's, you know, she's really, really small. She's never going to do Fashion Week. And let me tell you, she probably makes a lot more money than those girls do in their whole Fashion Week seasons. So commercial print encompasses a lot of different areas. So it encompasses commercials. So commercials for things like health insurance, TD Bank, Pepsi, Dunkin' Donuts. Commercials are one of the best paying projects that any model could hope to land, because if it's a union commercial, which don't worry about what that means just yet, you get paid every single time it's on TV. So some people do one commercial and make $60,000 off of it for the whole year. So those commercials are what any model and actor, like, that's their big ticket. I really want to book a commercial for a big household name brand. The high fashion brands, they don't have the money to invest into that anymore, because no one can afford Gucci anymore, right? So their sales are way down. They're closing lots of physical locations. It's mostly moved to online. Whereas United Healthcare, they're thriving. Dunkin', killing it. Stop and Shop, you know they're making money. So these brands that aren't considered glamorous are where the most success financially is going to come within modeling. So commercials, most of them don't have high requirements. Print work within the commercial world, like I said, most won't have height requirements. There are going to be certain brands like apparel, so think Old Navy, Target, Kohl's, JCPenney, TJ Maxx, where they might have more size requirements as opposed to height. So for example, I have a campaign with 5 models shooting tomorrow for TJ Maxx, and they wanted all shapes and sizes. So I've got a 5'10" size 0 there. I've got a 5'9" size 10 there. I have a 5'5" size 6 there. So they were really mostly concerned with the model's dress sizes or pants and shirt sizes as opposed to their height. Because when it's a print campaign, you can't tell how tall the model is if you're just looking at a picture, right? Like you can maybe get an idea, like if they're super short or super tall, but ultimately with Photoshop and the ability to skew angles and whatnot, you're not going to be able to tell exactly how tall a model is. So for print, it's more about the size as opposed to the height. Then that becomes the question of, okay, what is straight sizes versus plus versus curves? There's a lot of different areas within there. And then for men, we call it big and tall. So, you know, straight sizes traditionally were like a 0 to 4 in, you know, the old days. Now we're getting a little more progressive here. So now we're seeing straight sizes, which is going to be just your regular sample sizes, to be more in the 0 to 6 range. Curves, so for our curvier girls, in kind of the 8 to 10 range, and then plus is going to start kind of at 12 and up. Now it does vary per brand, or like when I did Skims, like they do every single size. So Skims was like, I need everyone. I'm like, oh gosh, this is going to be a long day of work. So it does vary by brand too, a little bit, on how they conduct their sizing. So you kind of have to figure out, okay, am I a commercial print model or am I a high fashion model? You're probably a commercial print model. And then within that, am I standard sizes? Am I curves? Am I big and tall for men? So big and tall for men is going to start at, if you're over 6'3", so if you're really, really tall, and, probably like a 36-inch waist is going to be big and tall for men. So within commercial and print modeling, you can see already there's so much more diversity and inclusivity in so many different areas that you can fall into. Whereas high fashion, it's this and this. Commercial print, it's like you could be this or that or do this or that. So there's a lot of different areas within that. Petite modeling is a term that's kind of going out of style a little bit, because with commercial print just starting to encompass so many shapes and sizes, petite modeling, that used to exist when there was just high fashion and they'd have a few short girls that were 5'7", and those were their petite models. Now that's kind of segueing to not really being a term anymore. So you're either really in the commercial and print world or you're in the high fashion world. And then there's one other kind of sector that's just important to touch upon, and that's the fitness world. And that's kind of really its own little bubble. So you sign specifically to fitness boards or fitness agencies for those projects. It's not really common for like a high fashion agency to have a fitness board. Like they don't want muscles. They just want like, whoop, they want, clothing hangers. So, there are agencies that specialize in fitness specifically. And so fitness is kind of its own little bubble that kind of, has retained itself outside of, commercial print versus high fashion, and has kind of held its own as its own kind of area. But most commercial and print agencies nowadays do have a fitness board, but you have to remember, if you're ripped, which all power to you, hey, that's probably not going to really speak to like Old Navy, Kohl's, and JCPenney, right? Because that's not going to be as relatable to them. So if you do, tend more towards the fitness, then you need to also recognize that's my niche, that's my bubble, because not everything is going to be transferable. So those are the main different areas of modeling. And there's so much more, as far as, parts and people who just do hands and feet and things like that. But for the majority of people watching this, the commercial and print areas are going to be the really accessible areas.
All of this is like very insightful, even for me. Like the light bulb is going off. Like I need to go back and change and twerk a little things.
Yeah.
I also want to kind of go back to when we were talking about print and comp card and digitals. So what are, the model picture standards?
So if we're talking about kind of like on the all casting profiles, what goes on a comp card, it's kind of the same, right? Mm-hmm. So like I said, it's kind of like a mugshot almost, but it's usually 4 images. And we want to make sure, one, ladies, hair up, chin up, very focused eyes in the camera, just clear shot of your face. Number 2, hair in front. So we can really, really see what we're working with here. Again, here. Then I'm not going to stand up, but we want a 3/4 shot. So that's going to allow us to see your body a little more closely up. So a 3/4 shot is going to hit from right above the knee-ish area, maybe mid thigh to the top. And then the 4th image should be a full body shot. If you have, area room for more. So the comp card, we just want 4. let's not get crazy. Quality, not quantity. I don't want to look at 8 pictures on a comp card and be like, this is just a mess. Keep it simple, keep it clean, keep it looking expensive and chic, right? If you've got lots of different images or overlapping photos or some black and white and some color, it's just going to be it's going to read too busy and it's going to read unprofessional. That brings me to my next point. In color images only. Black and white are out the window. Black and white can be used in a portfolio for artistic purposes, but when you're submitting to an agency or castings, again, the purpose is to see what you look like. And black and whites do make it difficult to discern skin tone, eye color, hair color, all that kind of stuff. So in color images, 4 shots. For men, obviously, you're not going to do hair up and hair down. So the second image, it can be a smiling shot. It can, or, girls who have short hair, it can be, not a full side profile. Because let's be real, when you're modeling, you're never going to be just seeing the whole side of your face. So people send me pictures of their backs, of all the way turned around. I'm like, I need to see what you look like. So it's going to be a cheat. It's called a corner shot because you're looking at the corner of the room, right? Not the side. Because when are you ever going to see a model looking like this on a campaign? Looks a little silly, right? So for your secondary shot, if you're not doing a hair up, hair down, you want to do a corner shot where you're looking at the corner of the room. That way you get a little bit of the jawline, especially for men. This is key. So we can see the jawline. We get a little bit better view of the cheekbone. So you're going to have 4 images on the comp card. And these are ideal for your all casting profiles as well. If you have room for more photos, so if it's like a digital comp card, it's something online, that's when we can throw in some of the side profiles. Again, the corner shots are going to be more valuable than this because, like I said, there's never going to really be a time where you're posing for a campaign and they ask you to stand sideways. It can't hurt, kind of giving us the whole picture, but the corner shots are going to be more valuable in us seeing your angles.
I'm learning new terminology as well. So I know some of the models or people who are in here thinking about modeling, you're getting all of this terminology in the modeling world, which is amazing. And we're touching on comp cards now. What are some must-have details that you specifically look for on the comp card?
Sure. So biggest mistake is don't list your age. Okay. So, few reasons for that. First off, if you're over 18, you never list your age because when the clients are casting for jobs, they give us an age range. They don't say, find us a 26-year-old or find us a 38-year-old, right? They say, find us somebody mid to late 20s or, early, to mid 30s. They give us an age range of the type of appearance that they're trying to convey. So either a mature model, if they're going for, my older ladies and women, maybe a more like of a Gen Z millennial, if they're trying to, hit the younger, 30s, demographic. So it all depends on the client. But my point is, just because you think you look a certain age, the client, they don't have an age in their head. So I've booked like 20-year-olds on jobs where they're looking for a 30-year-old. I've booked a 40-year-old in a job where they're looking for a 35-year-old because they're saying, let's see if people can play this age range, right? So if you put a number in their head, then that's the number they're going to stick with. So, if you can play older or play younger, we never want to, put a number in the casting director's head that could end up then changing their minds, right? So number 1, if you're over 18, you never put your age. Number 2, sometimes I get comp cards that have 17 different measurements on it. There's very few basic measurements that you put on a comp card. So ladies, height, bust, waist, hip. And I'm going to come back to this because most of y'all are measuring wrong. Bust, waist, hip, dress, shoe, eye color, hair color. That is it. Men, height, waist, inseam, suit, shoe, eye color, hair color. Ladies, your hips is not where your hip bones are. I know, very confusing to most. You want to Google how to do measure your hip measurement for modeling. Your hip measurement is actually going to be the widest part of your tush. So you want to find the widest part of your booty and measure around there from the back. A good rule of thumb is that your hip measurement is always going to be roughly 10 inches larger than your waist. So if your waist is 28, your hip's not 35, sis. So that is a really good rule of thumb, is if you how to know if I'm messing up. Like if you're only getting 5 to 8 inches larger for your hip, you're measuring too high. So that's one of the main important things. And then of course you want to make sure that you have your phone number and contact email. You want to make sure that you have an email address that you are always accessible on and check often. Agents communicate primarily via email because we're on the go, we're on the phone with the casting director, we're trying to get models into this casting, we've got somebody who's shown up late to set. Our phone numbers are usually quite private information that we don't give out publicly, especially during the scouting process. Only like my signed models will then have access to my direct phone line. So I'm not getting calls from prospective models all day. How can I be a model? How can I be a model? That's why I do this kind of stuff. So an email address that you're going to be very easily accessible on, that you'll be able to answer in a timely manner, and make sure it's a professional sounding email. So, not to call myself out, but my AOL name used to be Horse Girl 23. So thankfully we've moved on from that. But I sometimes advise, if you've got an email that you've, had for a while, and it might be something that's, not super professional sounding, you might want to create an alternative email that is simply for your career. And that's also a really good way to keep it easily accessible. So, Talia modeling, whatever, that way it sounds professional. You'll be able to easily access those emails. So measurements, contact information, and lastly, social media. If you have a public Instagram profile, I always recommend it's used for career purposes. If it's just like you and your besties, that's probably not going to be something that's going to be used for marketing as a marketing tool. But if you do use it in a professional capacity, if you have a lot of followers, I always recommend including your handle. As I said earlier, that's kind of like your little website for modeling. That's kind of like a little branding page. So if you feel that it's going to increase your chances, that it looks good, that it's been professionally curated, definitely include your handle as well on your comp card.
Amazing. I love the refreshing of all the answers, and it's like I'm saying, it's keeping me on my toes to be like, okay, these are things I need to go in and correct, because as we know, in the modeling career, sometimes you can have this high and then you can have a really low, and you're like, whoa, what's happening here? I need
Yep.
Yeah, like, Kate, what is it? Is something happening here? So I'm pretty sure a lot of the participants on this live right now are saying, okay, thank you for this checklist to go in and clean up and correct some of these things, or now apply them. We do have like some of the live questions as well for, I have one.
Lakeisha, I'm just sorry, we're just running out of time. But before, I just wanted to ask Talia to showcase just at least a couple of profiles that need improvements, and I think everyone is just eager to see and to create that list, of must-have information, that comp card or mistakes to be, so please go ahead, share the screen, and let's just listen carefully to all the recommendations and advices that Talia would provide.
Sure. So you want me to show the profiles that will need a little bit of, that need some adjusting first?
Yeah, I think we could just have one male and one female profiles, or all casting profiles to show, and then you can just run through and provide recommendations.
Okay, excellent. I'm going to pull those up.
Don't be too strict, Talia. Don't be too strict.
Okay, I'll be gentle. Okay, I'm just trying to pull those profiles up. Okay, let me see. Here we go. And then I will share my screen, and don't worry, I will be nice, but just kind of provide a little bit of feedback here. So let me go ahead and share my screen. I've got one girl up. Sorry, I'm just pulling these up. So I think I only had one male profile sent to me, and he did a pretty good job actually, but let's pull him up too. Okay, so, all right, let me just share my screen. Okay, can you guys see my screen okay? Okay, so this was just one of the profiles that was sent to me. So I just want to quickly go over just a couple things that stuck out to me. So first off, this is a gorgeous girl, beautiful opening headshot. Few things we want to change though. Opening headshot, we want to take out the nose ring. Remember, we want to see just blank canvas, and take off the earrings. They can pull the, the eye a little bit. Now, main thing with her is like, oh, now I'm a little confused. What color is her hair and what length is her standard style? I know as ladies, we change it up all the time, but as a model, you want to kind of have a core look that you are presenting to clients that can be really, easy to kind of just take a look and be like, oh, wow, okay, this is kind of what I'm going to be working with here. In terms of age range, I think that she sold herself a little bit short. Like I said, we want to keep it pretty open, right? Let them kind of decide. So, even though I don't really think that this girl looks 40, I would put, 28 to 40. Again, the clients, if they're looking for early 30s, late 20, early 30s, and they see the number 33, they might be like, ooh, maybe she presents too old. So make sure you're not kind of really limiting yourself too much in there. Now, of course, it does say her hair color and down here, but again, it is confusing because we've got brunette here, blonde here. She is also missing her waist size. So we need all measurements to always be accurate. And then again, if we're going to have the Instagram, okay, so I'm going to ask me to log in. If you're going to have the Instagram, like I said, just make sure that it looks good here. So just in terms of the photos, if you're going to have 3 photos, you want them to be 3 photos that really clearly show you. So this is a great headshot. Like I said, few adjustments I'd make. We've got a great body shot here. This photo, we can't really learn too much from it. We can't see her face. We can't see her figure. It's very shadowy and dark. So images like that are not going to be helpful. We want really well lit images that clearly show face and figure. So just a couple notes on that one. And then I know you wanted me to show a male as well. So here we have Timothy, very handsome guy. So Timothy immediately broke my rule with the side profile. So again, it just doesn't really give me a great representation of what he looks like. It's shot from a bit of a downward angle. So, I'm not really able to see what his jawline looks like too well. I can't really get a good feel for, his eyes in relation to his cheekbones. This is a great headshot in terms of like showing us what you look like, but I can tell it was taken in the bathroom, and that's just a little distracting. Okay. So we just always wanted to make it look as professional as possible. So in terms of, just showing his appearance, it's great, but we don't want anything to pull the casting director's eye that could say, oh, maybe they're a beginner. So, finding a blank wall, putting a sheet up, anything like that is going to be really, really helpful. And then again, this is a great body shot, great, kind of shows all the proportions there. But we did, again, kind of restrict ourselves a little bit with that age range, because I think he could do 40 to 50 easily. But again, maybe if I was the client and I saw that, that could potentially, change my mind there. So just a couple examples of quick things that popped out to me of just, of these two profiles.
Okay, cool. Do you want to show us the perfect portfolios?
Yes. Okay. So I prepared just a couple examples, and these aren't one size fits all. These are just a couple examples of what, some really well done. Am I sharing my screen? Can you guys see it okay? There we go.
Not yet.
Okay, there we go. We're back. Okay, so this is these are some examples of amazing, perfect, flawless digitals. So you can so clearly see, what this model looks like. You get the vibe. We've got some hair up, we've got some hair down, we've got some corner shots, we've got the 3/4, we have the full length. She threw in a swim. This model covered the gamut of every single, criteria for what a digital should look like. We have bright lighting, fitted clothes, simple colors, black and, denim, no makeup, fresh faced, bright, and all the information a client could possibly want. So this is what this is just your goal for digitals. If you want a screenshot right now, screenshot away. These are what perfect digitals look like. In terms of her portfolio, now this is her portfolio. This is, her shoots that we're showing to the clients. So they're simple, they're sexy, but they're expensive. It's giving Calvin Klein. It's bright, it's clean. There's not craziness going on. We don't have props, we don't have neons, we don't have bright colors, we don't have jewelry. We are looking at the model and how they can model these clothes. It is clean, it is simple, and it is beautiful on the eye. It's gentle, it's not chaotic. It shows what this girl can do, how she can move. It's quality, it's not quantity, it's straightforward, and it shows what this girl can bring to the table as a model for brands. It's not about her. It's not about the accessories. It's not about the clothing. It's about what she can bring as a model. And then finally, I know we're getting close on time. This is a great example for a male model. Now, not everyone has this guy's abs, so I'm not saying you have to have shirtless because goals, but again, we are, giving face. We're showing, what we can do with our hands, our body, the movement, what we're going to bring to the table to model their clothing and their product, their sunglasses, their clothing, their jeans. It's, he looks great, but the photos aren't about him. They're about how he is modeling the clothes and showing off for the camera. It's clean. We've got neutral tones. We've got denims. We've got, lots of different high-end textures. We're not using tons of cotton. It looks expensive. This, this looks like it could be a campaign for Ralph Lauren and Calvin Klein. So high-end, bright, beautiful retouching, stunning lighting. This is the top criteria for what modeling portfolios in New York City should look like.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So valuable to see, that example. Okay, I guess we have just a little bit more time for Q&A, and Lakeisha, maybe you can just pull out some questions, and we'll just ask Talia to answer those.
Righty. Am I going to click on the answer live, and will she be able to see them?
Let's see.
You could just read it. You could just read it aloud.
Well, we have an anonymous attendee Says, do you have to pay any money to be a model at MMG New York?
Great question. So one thing that people don't realize is that every modeling agency in New York City charges web fees. And as soon as people hear anything in relation to paying and modeling, they kind of usually freak out and they're like, that's not legit. The old tale of not having to pay, for your materials in modeling, that is like when Cindy Crawford did it in the 90s. So things like photos, comp cards, those are all going to be your own expenses. And then web fees for modeling, so whenever you see a model have a portfolio on an agency's website in New York City, that means they paid web fees to the agency. Now, this isn't payment to the agency. You're not paying for representation. You're not paying your agency. This just goes straight to the web developer company who makes their magic and makes the portfolio appear. But web fees are an expense that you should be prepared for with any agency in New York City. And then photos, that's going to be your biggest investment as a model and an ongoing investment. You always need to be developing your portfolio. You always need new content for social media that's current with industry trends. The photos that were popular in 2020 are completely different than the photos that are popular now. So go through like Tommy Hilfiger's Instagram, like it's all street style, really cool stuff. So you want to make sure that you're keeping your materials current. But with MMG specifically, no, there's no fees to sign with us. We don't make any money, until you guys make money, but you should be prepared to invest in yourself, in your photos, and the web fees to the web companies.
I have another question. And this question, it says, what does a professional email and contract look like? What do they sound like so we can avoid scammers? And that is very important.
So important. So there's a lot of scammers who participate in what's called check cashing scams. They say, we found you. You'd be perfect for this job. It pays $6,000. It shoots tomorrow. And guess what? You're going to have to, fly out and you're booked. Congratulations. So first off, if it comes from a Gmail email address, 9 times out of 10, that's going to be fake. If they're saying that you're booked for the job without doing any type of audition, that's going to be fake. If they're asking you to provide any sort of bank account information or say that you need to put down a deposit for hair and makeup, those are all really big red flags. You can just Google what a check cashing scam is, but essentially they, collect information with you, say you need to cover some things, but then you'll be reimbursed thousands. And that doesn't happen. So look for company email addresses and, if they're asking you to pay money, for travel or for a hair and makeup artist or anything like that, that's something that should be avoided.
One more question. I know you covered some of the niche modeling. Could you also let other people know that there are different types of, because you did cover some, like hand, face, niche modeling as well.
So it's called parts modeling. And there usually are specialized agencies dedicated to parts modeling. Sometimes they'll go to regular agencies for this, but it's crazy. There's people who are literally just hand models. Like that's their whole career. And with any niche modeling like that, you're going to go to a specific agency for that. Another example is called fit or showroom modeling. And this is, most people don't know this exists because it's not a classic type of modeling, but essentially before Nordstrom's or Bloomies or any of these big stores decide which clothes that they want to sell for that season, the designer comes in. So like Guess, let's say, and they'll have a bunch of models stand in the room and all the different outfits that Guess made for that season. And then Bloomingdale's will say, I will take 12,000 of those, 50,000 of that. And the models are literally just standing there in the outfits, and that's called fit or showroom modeling. That in specific is showroom, the example I just got. Fit is when they're trying to figure out how the garment should look. So they'll have 1 size 2, 4, 6, 8. They'll have one fit model of every single size, and they'll try to figure out how to make the clothes look good on them before they send them to shop. So that's fit and showroom modeling. And again, you go to specific fit or showroom agencies for that.
Wow. This is all so insightful and helpful. When I'm looking at the questions, but they're giving tons of comments about how insightful this is. And if you have time for one more, okay. Let's see. Oh, a lot of people want to know, how do they get a potential to sign for MMG?
So I'd be happy to invite everyone from this call to submit directly via email, as just to thank you for everyone attending today. You can submit your digitals and your measurements and maybe your Instagram to me, all the stuff that we've spoken about. You can send them to me directly via email. My email is Talia, Talia at nymmg.com. Again, it's Talia, Talia at nymmg.com. You should include everything that we've spoken about. And in addition, just because everyone, I'm assuming, is kind of from all over the place, make sure to include where you're located. You know, unfortunately in this industry, no news is bad news. So if you don't hear back within like a week or so, just assume that unfortunately it wasn't the right fit right now. But you know, you can always work on different things and adjust and resubmit in the future.
Awesome. This is amazing, Talia and Kate and allcasting, and basically putting this whole platform together for models to be able to correct whatever they have that is, you know, comp cards wise, and to be able to begin their modeling career.
Yeah, just like Lakeisha, you've been with us for more than 4 years, right?
Yes, I have.
Modeling is your full-time job now, which is incredible, I think. And you can start the modeling career at any age, basically, just like Talia said, commercial, print, modeling, they just welcome any age. Because I see in the chat of like Q&A questions, a lot of questions about mature models, you know, more than 40, like 40 plus models with gray hair and plus size models. So basically Talia has covered that. I mean, modeling, if it's not runway, modeling, just industries like looking for new faces, for different types of ethnicities, you know, mixed, any age, any location, because there are so many products online now. They are looking for ads and some promos. And so that's where Talia is looking for talent, actually. So once she's having like a client who is just looking for a specific model, she would come to casting, look for models there. She'll have her own database of models that she's working with constantly. So if you're a model and you're just starting, please use all those advices, prepare your comp card and apply. Start with those smaller jobs first, and then you'll start growing. You'll have more experience, you know, and then you can apply via agent. You can get an agent like Talia, and she'll lead you to bigger brands. So everything is in your hands. Yeah, just be busy, stay busy, and everything will work out for you.
Awesome.
Okay, girls and everyone who was watching us, thank you everyone, and we'll be seeing you next time on our next webinar. And thank you, Talia,
everybody. I look forward to seeing your comp cards and your digital. Have a good day.
Bye, guys. Thank
you
you
so much. Bye-bye.